What's up, guys? It's Tony here, and welcome back to Man Cave Studios. Today, we are going to be predicting the 2026 Stanley Cup Playoffs. So let's get into it. So this is a 2025 bracket. I think we're going to see a couple of adjustments, not too many because you can't have, too drastic of a change in the playoffs. I think that the first seed is actually going to be Dallas and the wild card team because you have to have 7 of the 8 returning teams in the playoffs every year, but I think it's going to be Anaheim instead of St. Louis. Now, I also think that Winnipeg has to make it again. Colorado, I think, is going to finish above Winnipeg next year, so it's going to be Colorado versus Winnipeg. Actually, come to think of it, we haven't had Vegas against Winnipeg in a while, so I think we're going to put Winnipeg here, and we're going to have Minnesota playing Colorado in the first round because that matchup hasn't happened recently, and by recently, I mean 11 years, which is many, many, many years. Edmonton and Los Angeles, you have to have, that has to be a matchup every single year because who doesn't love watching the same two teams compete 5 years in a row in the same round with the same result? Now, you turn your attention to the Atlantic. I think Toronto's going to drop a little bit. Florida has to be the favorites because, Florida has to be in the final. A team from Florida has to be in a final. Now, I'm tempted to put Toronto against Florida in the first round, but that seems like more of a second round matchup. You can't be messing with the dynamic here. They play each other in the second round every year. You can't have them in the first round. That's just too drastic of a change. But the thing that we do have every year is we have the Battle of Florida, so we've got to have it in the first round somehow. So let's have Florida as the first seed and Tampa Bay as a wild card team. Now, in the other Atlantic matchup, I think you got to have Toronto in it, and then you also have to have Ottawa in it. So I think Ottawa gets a second seed and winds up playing Toronto because you've got to have the same matchup 2 years in a row. Anytime you get the chance to do that, you have to. You just have to. But you do have to have one first-round matchup that's a little bit different. So we're going to have Carolina against Montreal this year. And then we're going to have Washington. And then, like I said, you've got to have one different team in every conference each year. So instead of having the New Jersey Devils, I think we see the New York Rangers instead. Because we haven't had Washington against the New York Rangers in 2 years. So let's get into the results. You can't have Anaheim advancing in their first year. That's obviously a no-brainer. Dallas has to win, and I think they're going to do it in 5 games. And you also have to have a matchup versus either Colorado, which happened last year, or Minnesota, which happened 2 years ago. I think it's going to be Colorado because the sooner the better. So I say Colorado is going to win that matchup, and they're going to do it in 6 games. Vegas and Winnipeg is a no-brainer. You've always got to have Vegas in the second round, so let's just, 4-1 final there. Not 2, 4-1 final. Edmonton and Los Angeles, same result every year. The matter is just how many games. I'm going to say Edmonton takes this one in 5 this time. Florida and Tampa Bay seems to be a no-brainer every year. 4-1 Florida. Ottawa and Toronto, I'm tempted to say Ottawa and, the Leafs lose in 7 like usual, but you got to have this Florida-Toronto matchup. You can't have Florida and Ottawa. That's a new matchup, and you can't have anything new in the second round. So I say that Toronto ultimately wins this series in 6 games. Carolina and Montreal, well, you've got to have Carolina play Washington or New York in the second round. So it's got to be Carolina in 5. New York and Washington is the only tough one. I say you get the Rangers because it's been 2 years since Carolina's played the Rangers, and that's too long to go without this matchup in the second round. So I'm going to say the Rangers win this one in 7. Now we're on to the second round. Dallas and Colorado. Well, now it gets predictable for the NHL. Dallas has to win this series because they always beat Colorado. They're going to do it in 7 games. Vegas against Edmonton. Edmonton won this past year, and why not have them win it again? Connor McDavid, am I right? 4-2, same as this past year. Florida and Toronto's got to be the same every year. Florida's going to win this one. I think they're going to do it in 7 because the Leafs always lose in 7. And then finally, Carolina and the New York Rangers. This one also has to end in 7, and it also has to be the New York Rangers. So here we go, on to the conference final. And this is shaping up to be an amazing conference final because who doesn't love seeing the same exact conference final every year? Dallas versus Edmonton. It's got to be a no-brainer for the NHL. Edmonton in 6. And then Florida versus New York Rangers, same thing as 2 years ago. You got to have the Florida Panthers, and it's got to be in 6. So here you go, Stanley Cup Final again for the 3rd year in a row. You have Edmonton and Florida. Florida won in 7 in 2024. They won in 6 in 2025, so they've got to win in 5. in 2026. So there you go. Those are your 2026 Stanley Cup playoffs. My question in all of this is, how the hell did the NBA playoffs get more entertaining than the NHL playoffs? Seriously? This is what we're really working with every year. The same teams, the same results, the same BS storylines. Great. We've recycled the Toronto not being able to get past the second round and losing in 7 games every single year. You've got Carolina not being able to get past the conference final. You've got Dallas losing in the conference final. You've got Dallas beating Colorado. You've got Edmonton beating Los Angeles. You've got Vegas winning in the first round. You've got Florida beating Tampa in the first round. You have the same exact matchups every single year. It's boring. It's boring. The salary cap rules have made these playoffs incredibly boring. And my team's not even in it. My team sucks too much to even be in it, so I'm not even complaining about that. But I've watched the Stanley Cup playoffs every year anyway, and it's boring. It's incredibly boring. And I'm probably not even watching next year because that's how boring it's become. I don't want to watch the same matchups if it's the same results every year. It's incredibly predictable and boring. That's all I have to say. Peace out, broskies.